Welcome, this is Marco Palmero, and I want to talk with you about deal flow. So, if you're looking for small businesses that you want to buy, chances are you've been struggling with deal flow. And that might be the case because you're not looking in the right places or because you're not using the right channel for finding these good businesses for sale. Now, most of what we do is focusing on finding, qualifying, and closing deal flow across the world. We've done it in many different geographies, including United States, Europe, UK, and even in the Middle East. Now, what I want to share with you is some of the processes that we go through so that we can dispel some myths and challenges that people might face when they are starting to look for small companies for sale. We primarily target businesses below $50 million in purchase price. The reason for that is actually quite simple. There are an abundance of deals in that particular segment of the market, and it is actually harder to find them because if you know the industry well, you know that as you go up in value, you're going to have a lot of parties that will become interested in finding deals, like investment bankers, lawyers, accountants, and many other firms like that. As you go lower and you start to target small business deals, you're going to be left on your own. And unless you have a predictable system to find deal flow, you're going to be stuck for a long time. And you're not going to be able to find the good opportunities that might be available on the market. What I've seen over time working with clients and companies is that in many cases, the problem they face when they come to me is not really in structuring and negotiating deals, but is in finding transactions. And the problem itself is more like a strategic problem rather than a technical problem because they know everything there is to know about closing deals and structuring transactions, how to raise financing and do all these things, but they aren't effectively finding opportunities, which is ultimately what I want to discuss with you. And so if we had to break down the process of finding transactions and finding small businesses for sale, we would ideally say that there's a process that we follow where we first find deal flow, and then what we do is we filter that deal flow, right? We start asking questions, qualifying questions until we understand whether or not that opportunity is a fit for us. And then once we have filtered the opportunities, we start the classic negotiations and due diligence and etc., right? The technical process of underwriting a deal, going through the information, the packages that the owners are going to send to us, and ultimately we get to the end of it with a closing phase, right? And this is, of course, an oversimplification, but what I want to explain here is that many times people focus too much on these three elements over there, and they don't realize that the problem itself is above here with deal flow. Now, the way I look at deal flow is like lead generation fundamentally. It's high stakes lead generation. When you go into any business, you will understand that in order for them to get business and get revenue through the door, they need to find leads first so that they can make sales. Now, business acquisitions are no different, right? In order for us to close transactions, we need to get quality deals. And we need to get volume in terms of how many deals we're finding because we are targeting small business acquisitions. And not all deals are going to be good. As a matter of fact, we both know that most of them aren't going to be good enough to make the cut. And so, how is it that we can predictably create a pipeline that can bring us deal flow on a consistent basis? Well, that's exactly what we do when we work with clients and companies that come to us and say, provide us with advice on how to build this system on our own or build the system for us, really. And we are really booked up for this thing because the moment people start trying how the system works, they're then very convinced and they want to stick with us for a long term. And that's why We only take a few people through application, and only people that are willing to pay thousands of dollars monthly for what we do. And that's exactly the type of client that we generally work with. Only people that already understand that the problem itself is deal flow, but then from an execution standpoint, they're good. And so they are looking to crack the code and solve this problem that is going to then make the whole process a lot simpler. Now, why is it that deal flow makes the whole system simpler? Well, because if we think about it as a funnel, right? What we put on top is our deal flow, right? And then we progressively go down and we start filtering deals, right? First, we ask some preliminary information, then we ask for a summary of the financial. You know the drill better than I do, right? We go down these steps and progressively we are left with fewer deals. And as we go to the bottom of it, we need to come up with, good deals fundamentally, right? Good deals or hot deals, fundamentally transactions that are matching the KPIs that we have for business acquisitions. Now, what I've seen in many cases is that the companies that we were working with were struggling because they were putting the wrong deals in. And so it didn't really matter the type of selection they were going through. They were always going to end up with bad deals because they were not working on fixing the input, which was, the element that was messing up the whole thing. And so to me, in order to really create an effective deal flow system, you need to start with opportunities, and opportunities that are the right ones. Now, there is this myth that the only way to find good opportunities is through your own network, through professionals and people like that. But that's not my experience. And I've found deals in many geographies using different channels, different instruments. And I really think it all comes down to what are the channels that owners are more responsive to. And I want to explain this with an example. There might be a person who is very responsive via email because he is the channel that he uses for business. He checks emails daily. He does it himself. He doesn't have an assistant. And so if you reach out to him there, you're going to get a response and you're going to be able to understand whether or not that business is qualified for your pipeline. There are other people instead who might only be responsive through social media, maybe because all the other channels are managed by their own assistants, maybe because they don't use them at all, and so you might want to reach out to them there. Networking, again, might not be the best way to go about it because a lot of people might not advertise the fact that their business is for sale because they want to keep it private. And so the only way for you to find out whether or not this deal is good is actually to reach out to the individual and start a conversation. And I think one of the problems that people face and that they don't realize is that they're leaving a lot of money on the table because 60% of total small business deals are off market. And this is, quite impressive if you think about it, because more than half of the deals that get sold yearly are not listed on any site, on any platform, or they're not available through, investment bankers and other firms like that. And so my focus when I work with clients and when I work with companies is how do we tap into 100% of the market so that we can then, fill our funnel with the most amount of opportunities. And we want to target this 60% in addition to the 40% that is already there, right? Now, getting back to my point about inputting the right deal flow, the reason why I want to focus on off-market deal flow is because most of the off-market deals are the hidden gems, the premium opportunities, the ones that are going to make you a ton of money. Because many times businesses that go up for sale and maybe have been listed for a while might not necessarily be the best opportunities available. Now, my experience has been that hot opportunities that go up for sale generally sell quickly. As a consequence, unless you're prepared to move quickly on a transaction, maybe you have equity available or you already have capital structure to do that deal, you're gonna be left, hanging because somebody else is gonna catch that deal. The beauty of working on off-market deals is that it allows you the flexibility and the exclusivity of negotiating one-on-one with the seller. So you might be the only person who's talking with these owners. And in addition, the deal might also be better compared to many others that are listed in public marketplaces. And so the idea here, when we start and we originate this process for clients and we work with them ideally for minimum 3 months, is to make sure we pick the best possible opportunities that can then be channeled through the funnel. And how do we do that? Well, first of all, we want to build a system that is both inbound and outbound, and that is tapping into this 60% as well as the other 40%, so the deals that are available on the market. Once we got that, we need to run a little bit of testing, finding out what are the channels that are working the best. And the reason why I'm saying this is because certain geographies and certain target and certain industries might prefer particular channels of communications, and I'm going to tell you a story about this. When I first started looking at deals in the United States, for example, I found out that people were very responsive to calls. Now, the challenge with calls was that you needed to go through assistance, and so you needed to overcome that layer of difficulty. But provided you were able to do that, you were able to get through a lot of small business owners and find very good businesses that were available for sale. But in other geographies, that wasn't the case. For example, in the Middle East, it was very hard to get deals through cold calls. And so we rely on other tools, for example, emails and networking, to find these transactions. And so the point I'm getting at here is that the buildup of the funnel and the initial inflow of leads all comes down to the country and the industry you're operating in. Based on that, you create a bespoke solution. Generally, we create a bespoke solution if you're working with us, so that we can maximize the amount of opportunities that are getting through the funnel and also increase the quality of these opportunities, because that's ultimately what makes the whole difference. Now, if we're talking about deal flow and if we're talking about transactions, what are some of the channels that I've seen work very well for people around the world? Well, of course, we got calls, we got emails, we got social media, we got professionals, meaning investment bankers, accountants, brokers, and you name it, professionals. We got affiliates. We got, what else? Well, we got existing network. Then we got door knocking, of course, and many, many others. I'm not going to go through the whole list, especially because some of the strategies we only disclose with the clients that work with us, either through the consulting sessions or the Done For You programs. But having said that, the point I want to bring to your attention here is that there are tons of channels to find deals and find good deals. And many times people just stick with 2 of them, maybe even 1 of them, because they say, oh, okay, I'm going to find deals and I'm going to buy businesses. I'm going to rely on networking or on live events for finding deals. Well, in reality, he might have a lot of access and a lot of accessibility to more transactions by leveraging multiple tools at the same time. Now, one of the myths that goes around is that it is very hard and challenging to do all these things together. Well, in reality, with the right strategy, it is actually easier to build up a system like this, because then these channels together become very diversified, right? And so diversified. So what I mean by this is you're building up a lead generation pipeline that works even if you're not the one directly putting in the work. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you are sourcing your own deals through networking. What it means is that you fundamentally need to attend events, call people that you know, continuously build up relationship. And that is, of course, an exercise that is very time consuming and is leaving you no other time to maybe negotiate with these deals or analyze the deals that you have found. Now, all of a sudden, if you build an integrated strategy that integrates call systems, email systems, affiliates, and maybe a few others, you're now able to get leads from multiple sources, and you end up with more deals and also more time to analyze the deals that are actually good. And so it's a win-win, and it's a positive loophole that you can leverage to ultimately get more deals and get more quality deals through your pipeline. Because ultimately, getting back to my initial funnel, your objective, in my opinion, should not be to focus your entire attention on finding deal flow. It should be on the process of qualification, which also can be outsourced and delegated to some extent. But ultimately, your focus should always be over here, right? Because that's where you make your money, negotiating and closing deals, the final stages. And so if you can build up a system that before you arrive at this point is finding deals for you and is bringing you opportunities on a consistent basis, you don't really need to spin your wheels too much, and you can just stick to what really matters. Of course, it might be closing deals. Of course, it might be raising financing if you go down that avenue. But the point is, you're going to be getting a highest return on your time. And that's exactly one of the things that we do when we work with companies and clients. Because many people might say, well, we are taking care of the entire process, but we're wasting a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of mental energy in taking care of all these steps. And so we work with them one-on-one, or we do the work for them depending on how they engage. And we then build up the system that streamlines this process and really enables them to focus on what's making them the most money. One example I can give you is a hospital group that we work with in the Middle East that was looking to enter the region as brand new, so they didn't have any knowledge or understanding of the market. As a consequence, it was important for them to get deals through without committing a lot of time and resources in building up their own team on the ground. They had no experience there. And so what we did was fundamentally fix this process on their behalf. We actually took care of them, of that for them, okay? And they only needed to review the opportunities that were good and start the negotiations, fundamentally. Now, of course, it comes down to you and what is it that you really want to accomplish. You might just say, I wish to understand more about how to build a pipeline for myself, or you might say, I just want to outsource that completely. That is really the two areas where we are, stronger. And I feel that's also one of the reasons why our clientele sticks with us for a long, long time, because it's not really about a one-shot thing. It is just generally, it's not what we do, is not how we operate, is not how we engage. Our commitments are generally for 3 months or more, because that's where really people can really start to see results, right? And we charge quite heavily for that because we have developed and helped many people through the process. And of course, we're quite busy working with the existing clients, and as a consequence, our time is limited. We get tons of inquiries, and we had to develop a application system that is layered so that a lot of people are not going to get at the end of the funnel. In fact, people need to qualify first, make sure they understand how the process works, and they are committed in working on building up a deal flow pipeline. Then they need to understand that we charge premium prices for what we do. But after they get through the process and they also went through a screening call, then we can look at what they really need to accomplish and build up a bespoke solution that will unlock premium deal flow and quantity deal flow for them. The point here is always the same. We want to accomplish the goal of tapping into the market fully, talk with all the people that are available and all the businesses that are available so that we can potentially address the entire market, find the good deals, and then select the ones that are the better and get them to the bottom of the funnel as quickly as possible. Now, another case I want to give you as an example is an engagement we did in the UK, where a person came to us because he was struggling in finding quality deals in the manufacturing field, small, medium-sized businesses again. The problem he was facing was that he was relying on public listings. So companies that were listed online or tools. He bought a few tools. These tools were not really delivering because they were mostly focused on, startups, pre-funded startups, not really these boring companies that he was looking to buy. And so the problem he was facing was that he was running out of capital. He had a certain runway of capital that he needed to allocate. He was running out of it, and he didn't have any more opportunity to work on. And so what we did was finding out what were the channels that were working better for him, and we integrated additional channels that could access additional deal flow. That 60% that I mentioned in my previous slide. What he ended up with was a consistent stream of leads. He was probably getting about 5-10 deals a week, which was quite remarkable for the industry he was in. And the point was, he was not spending a lot of time working on these deals. Finding these deals. He was allocating all his time towards negotiations, because in that case, what we did was not only building up the system, but also doing the filtering for him. So what he was getting at the end of it was just deals that were already qualified for his acquisition criteria. So all he needed to do is pick up the phone, go visit the place, and start the negotiations and the discussions, of course. So my point here is, a lot of time people spend too much time on the technical aspect of how we filter deals, how we negotiate deals, how we finance deals, how we close deals. But they don't realize that the substance is messy, right? The deals that they're working on are not the good ones, or they're not the best ones. And in some cases, they might be good, but they can get a lot more of them, or they can get better ones. And so what we really work on with few selected clients, again, is either changing their strategy so they can get more deal flow, or taking care of the entire sourcing system on their behalf. And that's something that is really effective for small businesses, because again, the accessibility to these businesses is less, it is not so easy to find companies for sale, because a lot of them cannot be found online, a lot of them don't have a website, a lot of them are not even listed on platforms like Dun & Bradstreet, for example. So you might need to go through Google search to find some of those. We actually found a few back in the day in Florida. That was something that worked very well. But the point here is, most of what we do is finding deal flow. And for all of those interested in getting deal flow and getting quality deal flow, they should really consider the fact that deal flow is just about lead generation. And so building up a strong lead generation system that brings in quality deals in the funnel is going to make all the other steps a lot easier and also more enjoyable, right? Because if you have only profitable opportunities, for example here, EBITDA positive, solid businesses with consistent track record, it gets a lot easier to select them, right? A lot of them are going to match maybe your KPIs, and you're not going to waste a lot of time with bad deals, but you're going to focus all your attention on just few of the criteria that might need, adjustment and that might need review before getting to the finish line. So if you're interested in applying for our services, there's a link below. You can click on it. We might have, limited slots. You will see that there's an application form to fill out. And again, we only work with people that want to purchase businesses sub 50 million, but it has to be a business that is at least $250,000 in purchase price. Provided that is the type of asset that you wish to purchase, keep in mind that we only work with a few people per quarter, so we need to go through a selection process, and we don't accept everybody. You need to understand that we charge premium pricing for what we do because we create bespoke strategies based on your needs that can either be through consulting sessions or done for you sessions. And so based on that, you can then submit your application, explain in a very detailed manner what is it that you're looking to accomplish, because unless we get a detailed answer from you, we're not going to accept the application at all. And once you got that done, you're going to have the ability to book a 15-minute slots to discuss that application. That is the last stage of our process. When we confirm the call, if we confirm the call, then we get on the call, we understand a little bit more about what you need and how we can help in building up that system for you. And then we understand how we can synergize to make your deal flow a success, subsequently to which